Yes, welcome into IATD TV, and today we have a deck profile for you. We have a Thunder Dragon deck profile for you, and a lot of you might be thinking, is it playable without Colossus? Well, it is somewhat playable without Colossus. We're not talking tier 1 potential or anything like that here, but it's certainly a competent deck, and it's certainly a lot of fun, and for that reason, for those reasons alone, I wanted to bring this deck profile to you, and just share a little bit of what I've been playing for the last little while. So we'll start with the main deck. Of course, this is Thunder Dragon, so we're going to need 3 copies of Thunder Dragon himself, the boy. So there we go, 3 copies of Matrix. This is one of the quick effect ones, so this is something you want to have in your hand when we've popped to pop something with Titan on your opponent's turn. The other quick effect is Thunder Dragon Dark, and it has a good effect either out of hand or to add a card when it's sent from the field or graveyard or banished. So one of the key components in the deck, and something that 3 of is a necessity. 3 copies of Thunder Dragon Raw. This has a different role in the deck. Now Colossus is out of the equation, but this is great for keeping your graveyard and hand management up to par. This being able to add a banished or graveyard Thunder Dragon monster back to hand just allows you to recycle those quick effects to get those pops on your opponent's turn. So this is great for resource management. Next up, 3 copies of Thunder Dragon Hawk. This is probably the least performing Thunder Dragon in the deck, and one that I've thought about cutting, but usually I keep it in. Reason being is the ability to fix a hand and dig deep for cards if you bricked can definitely come up, and also the ability to special summon a body on board isn't too bad either. Now of course we don't have Colossus in this deck, but we can, because we don't rely on a normal summon too much, bring out 3 copies of the 1 copy, but we play 3 in the deck of Thunder King Ryo, this being able to negate a special summon and also be a mistake on the board. Basically fills the role that Colossus did. It's not quite the same, but it does have a different utility as well, so an adequate replacement and something that people don't see coming. As for the disruption in the deck, 3 copies of Ash Blossom. These go without saying, we all know what these do. 2 copies of Nibiru. I like 2 rather than 3 because I just see too many people brick on Nibiru in the opening hand, opening 2 copies or drawing into it late game, so I think 2 is the perfect amount. As for the spells, 3 copies of Thunder Dragon Fusion. This is one of the best fusions the game's ever produced. It's absolutely fantastic, and the ability on the next turn after you've used it to search a Thunder Dragon card, fantastic. 1 copy of Instant Fusion, as it is limited to 1. But we do have the newly released Ready Fusion that we max out on at 3 copies. This is, along with Instant Fusion, our main play starter, and the ability to get a Colossus, Titan even, on board. 1 copy of Gold Sark. This is a fantastic starter, and even though it's only available as a one-of, it's worthwhile playing in the deck just for the amount of power and utility it provides. 3 copies of Triple Tactics Talent. The ability to dig deep extra into the deck, or change of heart, or confiscation of player is absolutely fantastic, and we do get hand trapped in this deck, and monster effects are applied against us, so to be able to utilize that and capitalize on that and turn it into a positive or at least an even is not to be sniffed at. For the draws, 3 Allure of Darkness. This is a great starter as well. If we can dig into the deck and banish a Dark or a Raw, we really get things kicking. And then we round off with 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. A little bit more disruption, and the ability you have that utility from the hand is worthwhile main decking at 3 copies. As for the extra deck, we have 3 copies of the boy, Thunder Dragon Titan. This is something that we want to go into at least 1 of every turn, preferably 2, and the ability to non-target pop and protect itself makes it a very difficult card to deal with. Battle is really the only way, or spinning it. And then at 3200, battle's still pretty hard, and you can usually, with the option of a Matrix, bump it up to 37 or even 42, so this becomes a very hard card to deal with. And next up, 3 copies of Kaminari Attack. Of course, with Ready Fusion and Instant Fusion, this is something that we need 3 of, just in case the grind game means that we use the first 2, we want to have a third. An alternate option is the Sea Monster Theseus for our Ready Fusion or Instant Fusion. We do have a couple of synchros we can go into, and this is the way that we access that. 1 copy of the original Thunder Dragon. This is really only in here for extreme dire circumstances. You've used up your 3 Titans, or they've been prohibitioned and you need something with a stat line you can bring out. But it's cuttable, but it's in there. That does it for the fusions. A couple of Link 1s in Link Karibo and Salamangreat Almirage. Both of these work with the Matrix and the ability to link them off into the graveyard and just start potentially a Thunder Dragon fusion play is worthwhile of their inclusion. We're a fusion deck, so we play Predapont, Third Day Anaconda. We can easily get 2 monsters on board, but when we start doing this and going down the Anaconda route, it does leave us a little bit open to Nibiru, so this is something that I prefer to use as a last-ditch effort to get something on board if we've been stopped otherwise. We don't usually get 4 monsters on board, but if we do, we want 2 good copies of Link 4, so we want Crusadia Mech Knight Avramax and Appaloosa Bow of the Goddess. Excellent options if we have to go into a Link 4. I mentioned Theseus in the Synchro package, so we do have a copy of the Retrain of Trishula, a Dark plus a Matrix, and a Ready Fusion allows us to go into it. And then if it gets destroyed, it can go into the original Trishula, boost it up to 3300, and half the attack and negate the effects of our opponent's monsters. So it's not something that we'll go into often, but if we're going second and we need to break a board, having that option, because the Retrain allows us to banish 3 cards, just gives us that extra utility and the ability to break a board. Finally, going into the extra deck, the side deck. We have some back row hate, so we'll do this all at once. 2 copies of Mystical Space Typhoon, 2 copies of Twin Twisters, 1 Cosmic Cyclone, and 1 Harpy's Feather Duster. Back row decks are definitely a thing. Mystic Mine is definitely a thing, and I don't want to lose to it for the reason that I didn't play any back row removal. So we have 6 copies of cards that can do that. Generally, if we're going up against Mystic Mine, you'll probably want to chuck all 6 of them in there. But if they're just generally just a back row deck, a couple of Twin Twisters, and a Harpy's Feather Duster, maybe a Cyclone as well, if it's necessary. For hand traps, 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird for excessive searching. 3 Artifact Lancia for banishment, things like Tri-Brigade running around, so Artifact Lancia is certainly a boost and a help in those matchups. And then finally 3 copies of Denko Sekka. Denko Sekka being an interesting one that, again, if we are playing a back row deck, we can side out the Thunder King Ryos, side in the Denko Sekkas, let them have their searches, but then they're blanked out of their back row. So, also being a Thunder typing, it synergizes with the Ryo and the rest of the deck. So it's just a spicy little tech that people aren't going to see coming, especially when they're running an excessive amount of back row. So that wraps us up for the deck profile today. This is our Thunder Dragon deck profile. Let me know down in the comments what you think. Are you playing Thunder Dragons? Would you like to? If you don't, I would recommend it. It's certainly a lot of fun. The combos are short and linear. The boards you can make aren't necessarily excessively oppressive, but they are able to put out a large amount of damage and disrupt the opponent considerably on their turn. So if you haven't picked it up, I'd certainly try and pick it up. The cards are cheap now. They're going to go up if Colossus comes back, so I'd recommend getting them in, just in case. And with most of them having reprints, it isn't the most expensive deck in the world to pick up. So that's my humble opinion on Thunder Dragons and the deck profile that we have provided for you today. Without anything further, this is IATD TV signing off. Peace out.